there were a lot of scientists that got lured onto that island. And imagine if you're a scientist. Let's say you're a physicist and someone contacts you and says, Moshe, would you like to go meet this guy, that guy, and that guy on a retreat? And you're like, oh, these guys are super legit. This must be legit.
Right.
You know, you're over there studying the cosmos. How much time are you Googling Jeffrey Epstein?
That's why I always hate these things.
And in the beginning, no one really had reason to believe that he was doing anything wrong with all these until he got arrested.
That's why I always hate these things where they go, you took a picture with so-and-so, therefore you're, it's like, what does that have to, you take a picture with 1,000 people a day. Like, what is, I'm not Googling everybody I do a picture with.
Right. Especially if you just meet someone at a show or something like that. It's insane. But also, you know, with these people, these scientists, like, that's a really sneaky trick to get a bunch of prominent people together and then invite you to be with those prominent people.
Right.
And it's a good intelligence operation move. I mean, if I was an intelligence operative, that's how I would compromise people.
Oh, you think there's a party that thinks maybe they were lured there not just duplicitously, but in order to take them down?
100%. Not to take them down, to have their influence.
I see, to triangulate them into you'll do what I want you to do kind of a thing.
Yes.
Right.
You will support Israel no matter what. You will do this. You will do that. You will, the CIA will tell you to do something. You do it. You know, if you're a person that has an enormous amount of influence in a field of science, that's a very valuable person to have on your hand. If you ever have something where someone has to speak to the general public, you get this expert, and this expert has an opinion that's very different than some other people's opinions, and they say, well, then they promote that opinion. This is the person. You could do a lot of things, especially if you have a lot of them. Right.
So an island's worth.
Yeah, and then you also keep them from criticizing you. You keep them from talking about it. You essentially muzzle them to this very complex sort of scheme that was running, where they were compromising.
That's what you think Epstein's Island was about.
100%.
It wasn't like a hedonistic playground. It was actually like
he was an intelligence agent, most likely. Most likely. Well, Ghislaine Maxwell, her father was an intelligence operative, and he was the one who apparently had trained Epstein, supposedly. The whole thing is very convoluted because it's very difficult. The story's filled with very wealthy, powerful people who have done a fantastic job of keeping themselves from getting arrested. It's pretty wild, like how this has been out in the open. Just the murder of Epstein, which seems to be a murder, doesn't seem to be a hanging.
You ever get upset you weren't invited?
No, pretty happy because
you might have gone.
I would have gone if I didn't know.
If you get an email, dude, we got an island. It's really fun.
Especially pre-Google.
Oh yeah,
pre-Google. You're like, hey, do you want to go hang out with Stephen Hawking on an island? You're like, holy shit.
But I did used to think, back to the Hawking thing, that I don't know, like the universe gave him to us in this weird way. Like, here's this mega brilliant genius. I'm not like a big deist in that way, but I think, what are the odds that the smartest man ever to get Lou Gehrig's got to live long enough to give over the full bulk of his genius? There's something very beautiful and interesting about that to me.
Well, yeah, that's a good point, that guy who had so much to give lived so long with a disease that kills so quickly. Yeah. I mean, he was apparently he was paralyzed. He couldn't move, but he could feel. So that's why he liked girls. Yeah. And there's a crazy article, and I forget what Variety maybe. No, I forget the magazine, but they were talking about he was like a frequent visitor to strip clubs. Right. He would go to like swingers places.
Imagine being the stripper when Hawking comes in.
She probably didn't know who he is.
That's possibly true.
Up old guy. If you're 22 years old and your stage name is Lexus, what are the odds that you know who Stephen Hawking is? I
mean, he's pretty famous guy.
Pretty famous for people that care about those things.
Yeah, I think Lexus cared.
Maybe.
I think you're
perhaps
cut Lexus some slack.
Maybe Lexus is just
Lexus
dancing her way through
thinker.
School.
That's right.
There's those. That's real. I think the Hawkins thing is a strange story, but the whole island thing is a strange story. It's a strange story. It's a story that is one of those things where you're going like, this sounds like the plot of a movie. Right. How could this really be how they did it?
Yeah. That movie will come out. Who plays Epstein?
That's a good question.
I got a pitch.
Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, Baldwin would be good.
Be a little too big. So, well, it's a little stink on him right now.
Well, there's a little stink on Epstein too.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe too much for him to get the part.
Sure.
You would want someone to. Who would do it? Oh, Bradley Cooper. He could do it.
Oh, BC.
He's a good guy at assuming
Yeah,
new
great.
characters.
Two great Jewish heroes.
Yeah.
He goes from Maestro to Epstein's Island.
Well, he's played a lot of people.